Cool. So this is the NWC Show, episode 23, and if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am the proof of perfection, Danny Edwards, and I'm here on your show.
Man, it's always awkward when people need to introduce themselves and it's like, hey, I'm just here, hello. Hey, what did I say? I don't know.
I usually have something wrestling to say. I'm usually like, I'm coming up against this guy, but then I'm just talking. I'm just being me.
It's just pretty much just coming up against COVID just now for everybody still. So yeah. But the first question we always kick these off with, and this is the one that I remember, and there's one at the end. So, what got you into wrestling? Like, what was that moment you were like, this is my jam. This is what I want to do.
Right. Well, when I was, what age would I have been? Probably 8 or something like that. Just Jeff Hardy stuck out to me, right? And it's a hard one to explain because I wrestle nothing like Jeff Hardy. But yeah, no, as a wee guy, Jeff Hardy was always like, was just cool. He was cool, came out and he had cool tune. He was cool. I always wanted to win the belt. He was the underdog, and I was like, that's my man there. And then as you get older, you like the bad guys, I guess. But yeah, Jeff Hardy was the first one that I was like, oh, I want to be like him. I want to be a stunt man. I want to jump off stuff, and I want to do that. And then, well, I don't wrestle like that, but that was who got me into it at first.
Well, I was quite similar. So when I was younger, I got into wrestling. But when I noticed like guys like Jeff Hardy, like the ECW guys and stuff like that, I was like, you know what, this is something that I can really do because it's not like these big kind of buff bodybuilder guys. Because I wasn't like that. I was like, I can do this. And then the first time I took a real bump through like a table or with a chair, I was like, oh, I'm going to change what I'm doing. This is sore. But I think anybody who does like the kind of that hardcore kind of stuff or like the Jeff Hardy stuff, it's like, you need to have like a pain threshold of like a god or something.
Fully hats off to those people. Fully hats off, because I've never really experienced. I've been hit by a chair, but I've never experienced like being on a 15-foot ladder at the very top, about to jump off, or like and like ICW, or jumping off the upstairs area that I've seen some people do, or get booted off there. I'd be like, that's mental. That's mental stuff. You've got to have a mindset for that.
I know, man. I think as well, we're allowed to swear on this. You don't need to worry about your language and stuff like that. Just in case you're like, because I know I always forget to tell people, but I'm from Scotland, so we're going to swear anyway. But I get so like on normal review videos, people always comment like you swear too much, and I'm like, I thought I was being nice this time, like but so. How long have you kind of been wrestling? How long have you been wrestling, training, kind of stuff like that?
So I'll exclude COVID. Before COVID, I'd been on shows for 3 years, I believe, and I'd trained for 2 before that. So I'd 5 years. I've been doing it. I debuted May 2017. So this May is 4 years on shows, which is kind of mental to me.
Man, that's really cool. But like, I think everybody always says that obviously COVID, you need to exclude it. I'm doing the same. Like when COVID started, I was 28, so very first into lockdown, and I'm 30 in June. So I'm like, this isn't really fair. Like I've missed my last like good year, so I'm staying 28. Like I'm no aging for the next couple of years. But how have you felt being like missing shows, kind of? Obviously, I know you've done like ICW with like nobody there. Is it weird? Like, does things just feel awkward when there's like no fans and stuff like
that? I think specifically with like my style of wrestling, I love crowds. I love when you go out there and you see just everyone looking at you, and then you go up and you get to go. You spot them all over there in the corner, and you're like, I'm gonna bam you up, and then there's a wee guy with a mask on. You're like, I'm gonna try and take your mask, and then. I love the crowd interaction, and it's gonna be crazy after COVID. With like, we don't know what shows will be like yet. So it might be like you might have to social distance. If you're a wrestler, you might not be able to go anywhere near anyone, and it's changed everything. With ICW, it was definitely a positive experience. It was really, really fun doing it. But it was strange because you don't get that bounce back. You know what I mean? When you talk to someone and they bounce back at you, and you've got a bit of party back, but you've just got, with ICW, it was just the camera. and it was just, it's not the same without the fans. We can wrestle without fans physically, but wrestling needs fans. That, I think that's what I feel anyway.
Yeah, man, it's like going to the theatre and like nobody being there, or when you're first starting out. I remember the first couple of times I wrestled, it was in front of like 10 people, which is sometimes it's really cool having people there, but there is when you're in training and it's cold and there's like no, you're in the ring, you're trying to do like a practice match, even just for the guys that are there, you're like, this isn't as fun as what it is when you're out there. When the crowd like naturally reacts to it instead of from like just people with you, like, hey, that's good, bad guy, boom.
It's definitely the crowds make wrestling. It makes it a business. It makes it all makes the world turn round. And we miss fans. We miss shows, but we miss I miss fans.
Man, the worst thing I'm dreading is like, 'cause since I've started this at the beginning of kind of COVID, like midway through it, is going out. So I've had this kind of podcast show for the past 2 months. I'm like, I'm going to be going out, talk and go to these shows, and the guys are going to be like, I was on his podcast, and start slagging me. And I'm like, it'll be good heat for the bad guys, because I'm happy to take anything. Like, you can just shout at me, do what you want, I don't care.
Well, I take the risk that I don't. Sometimes I pick out people that I don't know how they'll react to it, but that's the fun bit. You either get someone who's maybe a wee bit sheepish and don't respond back and you walk by them, or you get someone that wants to get in your face but they're on the other side of the barrier, obviously, so you just kind of like banter them back and then you walk away before they start getting annoyed themselves and throwing fists.
It's a fine line to walk in Scotland as well, because it's like just a fine line between people just taking it as a joke, or somebody's just going to hit you with a bottle or something like that. But
well, to be honest, I love that's what I love. Like I think I do it in like a kind of even the fans know that I'm just a big bam up. Do you know what I mean? I think I've never had anyone that's like looking at me like I'm gonna date this wee guy. Like I've never had that. But thankfully I've never been about to pretend I'm really, really hard getting in a ring and I've been decked by some Dan Monroe. That wouldn't be great.
I think that would probably just ruin the match. You're like, oh, I need to go in.
Some clip for YouTube.
It probably would get you some like viral shit. Would be pretty cool. So what was like your experience kind of training in Scotland? So when I started, it was the SWA school that kind of wasn't the SWA school. It was like in the middle of nowhere in Linwood in a garage, and it was like cold and rainy. The garage door was left opened in the winter. Summer didn't matter. There was no changing rooms. There was like one toilet that didn't work. So it was like terrible. But then now I'm like the ICW one's all clean, lights. They've got like their own little show, and I'm like, this is like insane. I was in a garage.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. So I'm not quite in the like structure, the asylum that's got all the rings and all the equipment, and that's some establishment to be a part of. I trained with PBW, which was it was in some. It was the full time. I didn't move venues or anything because they were in a couple of different places. I was always in the scout hall in Barhead, and we just had mats on the ground. That's how I learned. So as you're learning to run the ropes, you're running the imaginary ropes and you're running back and forth. But the way you're taught, it does help you when you get in an actual ring. But you look mental when you're just sitting there running back and forth between mats and but that was my experience. And to be honest, I wouldn't change it, because maybe when you first step in the place, you're looking at it and there's mats on the ground and you're thinking, this is not what I imagined wrestling being. But when you grow up with it and you learn through it and you do get in a ring, you appreciate it so much more. And I could never jump off anything and hurt myself either. So that's good.
No, man, I just remember being in that cold, wet like area, and it was the first time I ever went. So it's like Linwood's. It's not far away, but it's like awkward to get to from Glasgow in a bus. So I was like a kid. I was like 14, 13 or something. So I went there, and then the guy was like, right, there's like 6 new people, 6 new starts. So I just want you to like run, and I'll come back and get you when I feel these are done. People just started like dropping off and stuff like that, and all went home. And I was just continuously running. He comes out and he's like, I thought you were away home, man. I'm really sorry I've left you just doing this for like an hour. And I was like sweating, being sick and stuff. But that was like my first kind of memory of wrestling training. And in there, it was like one of those little like kind of training boxing rings that you learn. And then when you got hit on that, it was agonising pain.
I've heard some of my peers see, as I was talking about the different like venues, I came into training just after I moved from, I believe it was Sweeney's, I think that was the old facility. Anyway, it's a boxing ring anyway, and yeah, some of my closest friends in wrestling, like Owen Jack, he's not called that anymore, Jimmy Pierce, Darren Weiss and such, have all told me that throwing yourself at that boxing ring was like throwing yourself on just straight concrete. It was solid, but I missed that. So thankfully,
I know sometimes you were like, could we just do this on like the mats outside? It would be a lot more easier. And then if you were doing like learning like something new or something different, it could be a wee bit risky for like somebody you're taking it to. You'd be like, we'll just do it on the mats on the outside because this ring will literally kill you if you get hit in it, which is so annoying when you're like a 14-year-old standing there like, why am I paying for this? Like, I'm getting paid and I'm going to get hurt. What am I doing this for? So obviously wrestling in Scotland's kind of bloomed recently, like the past like 10 years, which like I say is in a garage in Linwood in the middle, and Linwood's like an industrial estate with a couple of flats. There's nothing there if nobody has never been there, but it's like literally in the middle of nowhere. From that to like where it is now, which is insane. What do you think is? I think it's just the amount of good workers that have come up, and obviously the amount of wrestlers have just literally put the work in to build it. Is that what you think kind of made it happen, or?
I think, yeah, it's just some of the workers that have built this up have put like their life into this. Like they have put so much into it, and well, that's I can only try and pay that back by helping out and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't imagine like when I started to get onto shows and stuff. There's already like a structure there, and there's already like, right, ICW is there. I'm here right now, and I want to get there one day. And to do that, I've got to go through the holiday camps, and I've got to wrestle in front of 10 people, and SSW back in the day, and losing a squash match in 3 minutes, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to get yourself up the ladder, and yeah, I can't imagine like trying to start wrestling, trying to start something when there's nothing. Like there was one. Think about all the companies in Scotland nowadays, and there was literally nothing about 12 years ago or something, and now there's just like you've got ICW, which is on the WWE network, or you've got your BCWs that are your family show get-goes, and you've got Discovery Wrestling that isn't on the WWE network, but it's your kind of indie, like bringing in Cody Rhodes against BT Gunn and getting matches like that, and you've got so much, and I can, it's amazing that if you look at it, like 12, 13 years ago, when there was just a school, and there was just like, hopefully maybe one day this will get going, and now there's just like before COVID, every time you turn there's a poster there and there's a poster there, and no, that's Discovery and that's BC. Where'd I go? Do you know what I mean? It's it's the boom's been mental. Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people don't. Obviously, wrestling is starting to, it has been declining for a couple of years, like globally. But in Scotland, I don't think it's been any more popular, especially people like ICW, Discovery, BCW. You've got something for everybody. It's pretty much every weekend there's a show.
Aye.
And when I was younger, it was the SWA, or you had that weird, like, WWF one that was floating around. They used to have, like, the fake cane and stuff like that.
I went to that one time, and Undertaker was there. And, well, it obviously wasn't Undertaker, but Undertaker was there, and he always had, like, he had long hair, obviously, but he had hair over his face throughout the entire match, and I don't know how he did it. It was just, it was mental to me. I still believed it was Rey Mysterio, but jumping around in a 619, it was brilliant.
I still don't believe how they didn't get done with copyright or anything like that. It's like, you literally just had to say, like, it would be like Kane, and then it would be like Kane versus a green Kane, and you're like, why is anybody going to watch this? But obviously, you went and seen it. But
obviously, I was about 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like, that's Mysterio. That is Rey Mysterio. It's not.
I was hoping you were going to say you were like 4 or something. I know, like it was. Oh, it was just last week. I was.
I was 16. Like that is Rey Mysterio. I'm like that.
No man, I remember going to an SWA show and being like, this is like really cool. And I think BT Gunn was there. There was is it Darkside? The wrestler, I think his name is. He like just a bunch of Scottish wrestlers that was on the show, and I was like, this is insane. Like I can, like this guy stays next to me, like where I stay just now. Mark Dallas stays like literally like a couple of streets down from me, which is pretty cool. And I'm like, it's like these people live in my area, which makes it more relatable to try and like go watch a wrestling show and I see guys that I trained with or people that like Drew, for instance, where he was like coming up when I was starting to train, and it's like so weird. You can just go see them and they're like there.
Yeah. See, well, that's I went to. So I'm from East Kilbride, and I used to go to the shows at the Ballarat Hall. That's BCW. That is, and I still have this really vague memory in my head of one time. I think it must have been Charles Boddington or Graham Mackay, the promoter, who was in the ring, and the whole crowd was shouting, "Baldy midget, Baldy midget, Baldy midget," and I was screaming. I got involved. I was quite a shy kid. I was got involved, and for some reason he picked me out of the crowd, and he pointed at me and he was like, you stop that, and I swear to God I shat myself. Like Philly was like, oh no, I'm sorry. It's just the whole point of relating that was it's mental to see how like I've now worked for Graham's company, and I've not worked in East Kilbride, but I've worked for him, and I don't think he knows that story, but it's mental how things change over time, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's weird, like when I was a kid as well, I was quite shy and stuff like that, and then when I was like in the ring and I was like, this is insane, like I was like some person sitting out there going, oh, I wish I could do that, but I was too shy, and then I'm in here like putting on a match, people are enjoying it. And something that came back to me the other day that people have listened to this podcast have probably heard the past couple of ones is my first match. I forgot about this. It was like my first or second one, and it was against this huge kid, like it was just massive. And I can't remember what his name was or anything. And he clotheslined me, but he hit me so hard that like it knocked me out the ring. So like I went out the ring, and if you've ever been hit really hard, which well, you're from East Kilbride, I don't know, they get black out for the couple of seconds. It's like 1 or 2 seconds, but it feels quite longer. And I was out the ring, and I was like, how did I get here? Like I went to take it, and I was just outside it, and I was like, I don't know. Like it was just meant to be like just a quick squash match, just a couple of minutes, and then I was just outside the ring, like not a clue how I got here. The guys just pure whispering, like just get back in. All right, but no, that was one of my weird stories that I had coming back to me. And by the way, the reason that I don't wrestle anymore is because I broke my neck. In case you want to know, it wasn't because didn't take a move, nothing to worry about in wrestling. I'm a clumsy bum. I was on the side of the ring and I was playing around, slipped, came off the side of it, hit the top of my neck, broke my neck, and that was. The doctor was like, you probably shouldn't have done that anymore. And I was like, all right, I'll just not do it. But it's one of those weird, like, people always go, oh, was it like a bad wrestling move or something? Especially guys that are like, in the business like you. And I'm like, no.
You see, it was a big powerbomb off a 7 foot tall guy, and he was like, bro. You know what I mean? You always you got to lie.
Man, I used to tell people it was a pile driver, like, it hurt my neck. And then I was like, you know what? It's a more fun story just to say that I'm a clumsy person, because I really am a clumsy person. So it's like, there's no point in me lying about this, because if you know me, you'd be like, nobody hurt you doing that. Like you've definitely hurt yourself doing it. And where do you see yourself in 10 years? Talking about the past, let's talk about the future. Do you see yourself in WWE, NXT UK, AEW? Where do you see yourself?
See, that's such a hard question to answer, because I do not have a clue. The good thing is, but nowadays, if you're getting into wrestling or you're an upcoming star like Craig Anthony, Daz Black, Alex Parker, there's so many avenues and there's so many different ways to get spotted. And you know, maybe if Scotland isn't working out for you, you can try a lot down south. or there's just so many different ways. Whereas back in the past, but there wasn't any. Like, I remember my coach telling me about that. There wasn't, like, there was. You just hoped. You were just you knew you were doing well and you knew when you were doing bad, but there was no way of like getting a tryout or like, or there was no straight lane into WWE or AEW or whatever, and that's it's such a good time to be a young upcoming wrestler and really motivated to succeed, because it's not impossible. Well, how many Scottish champions were there in WWE? I think Gallus have lost their belts. Might be wrong, but Kaylee Ray, Drew McIntyre, Gallus are doing it for us. Nikki Cross was the women's tag champion. Like, Scotland is on the map now. We're not just a wee country that nobody sees anymore. We're producing talent, and well, we've got WWE champions, but there's a way to get forward. For myself, I do not have a clue where I'll be. I'm just going to keep working, because that's all I've ever done. I didn't think I'd ever debut when I first set in at training, when I first showed up. And to be honest, my coach didn't either. And I'm still quite a slender built person, but I was even skinnier than this, and I didn't stand a hope in hell. And I've got from wrestling in the mats in the Scout Hall in Barhead to wrestling on TV. I was on TV for PCW, and I was on ICW. Never thought I'd get there either, and I was on ICW. And it's a hard question to answer, because as well as there is a way to get into NXT UK and all that, there's no... You don't just go straight in wrestling. It's not like, right, okay, so now I'm in BCW, now I'm in PBW, now I'm going to go to Discovery, and then I'll be in ICW, and then boom, I'm in WWE. It doesn't work like that. You just got to work and work and work and work until hopefully one day your shot comes up. But there's so many more. The opportunities are there. You just got to take them. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was a long answer, but my short answer would be just going to keep working and see where we end up.
Man, that's such a cool answer as well, because everybody obviously wants to hit the big goal at the end of it. But it's cool to kind of just... That's what I take into my personal life. It's something I probably learnt from like wrestling and martial arts. It's just like, there's no straight line. Like, it's not like a job when you start at the bottom and then like you kind of work your way up, manager, stuff like that. It's like I'm self-employed, and it's just like, sometimes you make more money, sometimes you lose money, sometimes you're doing really good, sometimes you're not. And it's something that I've took with wrestling. So you just need to roll with the kind of flow, because you're going to sometimes, like you say, when growing up, it was... We sound like two old men talking about the past, but growing up, it was literally, there was nobody. People would be like, oh, Roddy Piper was from Scotland. You're like, no, he's Canadian, man. He's literally, just because you wore a kilt doesn't mean he's from here. But I think it was like, now you've got like, well, look at all these cool Scottish wrestlers, and some Scottish wrestlers are like, well, I kind of just want to go to ICW, maybe go to Japan. I don't want to go to like the biggest company, but I would like to just float around like the ICW stage, and that's pretty cool as well, that people like are happy to be Scottish and wrestling instead of from changing their nationality and stuff like that.
And these guys that do just, they don't float around ICW. They keep us relevant, because, you know, if everybody was Drew McIntyre and went to WWE, then soon there would be no Scottish scene. Do you know what I mean? Well, not really, but like, you need these. I don't want to call them the old guard or whatever, but like, veterans. You need them to help people like me come along. Like, I learned so much. I did a 9-week camp run, and that is the most I've learned, like, in the one frame in my entire life. Because I wasn't even doing anything. I was just building the ring, and then I'd get to referee, and you just learn, and you just take like knowledge from people. And yeah, these veterans, we need them about to help us out, so that we can one day hopefully get to their stage or even further.
No, I totally get it, man. I think it's like cool to have those staples in Scottish wrestling, and people to remind us how terrible it was back. And then like people before me, like I had a guy, who owns Target Wrestling. He was saying like when he started in the 90s, he was like he went to a guy who he paid £700, and he said he had a ring in his back, and he just let them go in the ring, and he would go away. And he was like, that was like my first wrestling experience, and it was so awkward. And it's like, it's so weird how far everything has came. And like you said, it's for the young guys coming up just now, it's insane. Like you've literally got so much opportunities. You can stay in ICW, you can become a big name in Scotland, or do Europe, WWE, AEW. Just there's so much you can do. Obviously, it's not a straight path, but you've got like so much you can do. And on that kind of note of like modern wrestling being so much, what's one positive thing that or something that you like about today's wrestling world, like community, whatever? For me, it would be how much wrestling there is, because it makes great content. Because I can make videos every day about it. So, what would be yours?
So from my own experience, instead of watching it, I guess my favourite experience in the modern wrestling would be just being a part of it. It sounds like such a cop out of an answer, but like I've wrestled in front of like some crowds, and like again, I was about 4 back in the day when they were all making the scene. But if you go back in the day, they were very often wrestling in front of 12 people, 30 people, and like stuff like that. Whereas like I'm so lucky to be able to go on some shows and be able to wrestle in front of 200 people, and I did a holiday park that I don't know how many people was there, but at one point it was meant to hold about 1,000 people, and I don't think there was that amount there at that venue at the time. But like it's these wee venues that you're like, oh, like I've done, like I can say I've done that, and that's so cool. So in modern wrestling, I guess, yeah, there's just you're so exposed to it. It's everywhere. If you want to be a fan, it's so easy because you can just, like we said, get so many different companies, and yeah, you've just COVID has taken damage, but it's such a good time to be a fan or a trainee or a wrestler. It's a good time, and hopefully after COVID it returns to the good days.
No, man, that's a cool answer. It's no a cop out or anything like that. People are going to be like, this guy's just saying he doesn't know to every one of these questions, but no, it's a good answer. Like I get what you're saying. Like it's just for everybody, it's good. Like if you're a fan, if you're a wrestler, trainee, if you want to get into it, if you're a kid, an adult, whatever, there's something for everybody. You can go do whatever you want to do, which is such a cool time. And also talking about back in the day, being old and stuff like that, is you look back and it's like there was literally nothing. Like people don't understand what it was like.
Yeah.
When I was finding a school to go to in Scotland, I typed in professional wrestling training in Google, and it was like, I did have Google back in my day, but it was like none. It came up like the first school I went to was a legit freestyle wrestling school, which there's only one in Scotland, and it was like this little outreach thing they done in Springburn. I went there, and this guy was just like, "Oh, you want to do that kind of wrestling, but you've paid, so you need to stay." And he just leered me, and then he was like, "But I know the skill that you're talking about, so I can take you up there." And I was like, I said, "Why did you have to do that to me?
He's
You just
taking your
told me."
money, leered you, and then went, "Oh, I know who you are over there."
It was like an hour and a half later, and he was like, "All right, here's my number. Just text me, and then I'll come and pick you up and take you." Like the first couple of times that I went there before I started getting the bus and stuff like that, and I was like, "Why did you just take my money and hit me for no reason?" I was like 13 at the time, so I was like, "This guy, this grown man, who's just beat me up for no reason." But that's cool stories to think about. And on the flip side of that is, what's something that you don't like about today's wrestling community? You can say nothing. You don't need to say anything.
Not the community. I guess the thing I hate most would be like I just maybe it sounds like jealousy, but like it's some people's thing. But see, flippy wrestling and stuff like that, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it for me, and there's a lot of people not even really within that I've experienced, but like watching some people in America and stuff like that, there's a lot that do it that like I think it looks dancey and wrong. Like the wrestling I love is the art of making something look real when it's not. So I love watching, like, even as when I watch security shows, I love watching a dad who's sitting here like, this fucking shit, I can't believe I had to take my 4-year-old to this, and watching someone boom with a big a forearm, and he's going, oh, it's real. You know what I mean? I love that, and I think some of that art is lost in some places nowadays. So I think there is a right way to do it, and like don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do flips, because flips are cool. I love Jeff Hardy. I love Leighton Buzzard. He does some stuff that I could never imagine doing. Daz Black, wrestling him is just weird, because he suggests all this stuff that you're like, how you came up with that? I would never think of that. But yeah, I guess the thing I hate most is like just when it looks dancey. And I don't think that's a huge issue within the Scottish scene, but yeah, there's some places that I've seen. There's a clip that went viral. I can't remember what show it was at, but there was two wrestlers and they were doing like some sort of, it just they were jumping off the ropes, and they were going for a cutter and they were pushing off, and then he would do a backflip, and then I was just like, you are just doing flips. What's going on here? You may look like you want to punch each other, like, and yeah, so that would be my answer. I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but yeah, that's my opinion on.
Man, everybody I've had in that's in the business, I've had people from AEW, like I've had Molly Spartan, who's done ROH, and she was on ICW Bard last night and stuff like that. They all say the same thing, like the flippy kind of side of it. It doesn't tell a story. I'm totally with you. Like, if there's a time and place to use it, like you said, Jeff Hardy, I feel he done it right. And then when you're really thinking about flips that Jeff Hardy done, kind of swanton, it's not really like, it's no as much flippy stuff as it is to just now. It's pretty hard to say, because you don't want to let it get like just pick one person, but like, this guy does the flips and I don't like it. But no, I get what you mean. I like wrestling that looks more realistic, like people like Bret Hart, the technical side of stuff. But I do like Jeff Hardy, people doing flips and stuff that like, if it makes sense, it's cool to do it. But
yeah,
I've been to shows and somebody's like just come off the ropes, they flip outside, then run along the outside, then they flip back in. I'm like, why are you flipping? Why just do the thing?
There's some there's like clips of people that do these cool flips, and then they get hit with this big move, bang, and then they're up 2 seconds later and they're like whoosh, boom, and you're like, you should get a powerbomb. Like, yeah, I don't know. I like, you're right with Jeff Hardy, like he just wonton bomb and stuff like that. But even if you want to go a bit further than that, I'm not saying like the 450s are cool. Like, this is the right way to do it. Neville or Pac or whatever you want to call him, I've watched him in real life, and I've watched him. I was a huge fan of WWE, and oh my god, he's like, I couldn't even dream of doing some of the stuff that he's done. And I think that's like the right way to do it. But like I said already, I think there's some people that I swear to God, in my head, I don't have anyone in mind that I'm thinking of, and I'm not saying. It's just I've noticed some stuff that I'm like, I'm not saying we go back to the days where like a scoop slam was a finish and that's all you get. You know what I mean? But I used to love NXT Takeover for teams like the Revival, because they would do these big cool move exchanges and you would get your kind of indie fix, but they would also do stuff that you're like, that, like the spear into the cover, the when they get spear the tag team partner at the cover to break it up, because you can't do you're not allowed to break up the pin more than once, or else you get disqualified. I think that's brilliant, and just the Revival I'm a huge fan of. But like, yeah, I'll a tangent, but yeah, there's some people I think take it too far.
No, man, I'm honestly thinking about rechanging the name of this show as Tangent, because I do the same thing. I just end up going in this poor conversation. Like, I've told everybody that comes on, I told you before this, I do send a list of questions to break kayfabe for the audience. I just tell you before it, I will never remember these. Like, don't worry about it. Don't come up with answers, because I'm not going to have answers set for them. But No, I get what you mean. There's a story to be told. That's what wrestling is. It's theatre. It's story. You can tell a story in it. And just like I say, like there's been times when even my kids, when I take them to like a show, and there was this guy who was trying to hit a DDT, which is quite a simple move to hit, and if it can look really, really good and really effective if it's just done right. And he came off, he'd jump out the rope, he'd run along, went up, jumped down, like up the turnbuckle, jumped down, and then hit the DDT. And I was like, why did you just do it? Like, and my daughter was like, what's he doing? Like, but but like I say, there is, like you say, I can't get one person that would be like this person. It's like just some wee things here and there that I've noticed as well. Is like you're like, oh, it's just kind of a little bit too much flippy, and I don't want to go back to those like 1970s days when it was like punch, the guy's like out cold, and then it's like slam, and that's
there's got to be some sort of middle ground where it's not going too far, but like I say that, I'm not saying I don't enjoy watching flips, because like Will Ospreay and stuff like that, like Will Ospreay Ricochet, some people said that was too flippy, and to me it was on like the borderline, but like I can't even imagine doing some of the stuff they do. So like no, I can't criticise someone.
A game with those guys, it does kind of make sense with their kind of style. But like when you just see it with somebody that doesn't really make sense, they look a wee bit too big, you can tell they're uncomfortable. You're like, you could have just left it out, it might have been okay. But obviously, today's kind of product is a lot different from years ago. It's changing and stuff like that. It's got so many companies, so many stuff. Another thing that I really don't like about wrestling at the minute is the kayfabe people say like it's dead, whatever. I just think they should use social media to a better ability. Like have your like a business page, and then have your personal stuff for your pals, your bud, whatever you want. But like you can, I think it would be so fun. ICW do it greatly. Like they'll use it. The guys will go on their phone and like cut promos and stuff like that. I love when they do that. But when it's just like you see like WWE, for instance, like a diva who's a bad person, she's literally just beat somebody up, and then she's like posting a picture out walking her dog, and you're like, what are you doing? You just ruined the whole, like there's no need for you to do this. Is that something that you would like to see, like social media be used as like a better part of wrestling?
I'm also a huge believer that social media is brilliant, but too much social media, like scrolling through all the time, is really, really damaging. Sometimes you need to get off social media. Do you know what I mean? And I've done that throughout lockdown, and it's been throughout the 14 million lockdowns that we've had, and it's been brilliant. But like with social media, I try my best to be like, I don't really use like your Twitters and stuff like that, and on my Danny Edwards stuff. I don't ever really use it unless I'm sharing match graphics or posters or something when I'm like, look, you can see me at this, or look, this would be a great show. Although there are some instances where I've done it myself. So yeah, I think but it's really hard, because we're in this era of social media where like it's cool then to see that Randy Orton's walking his dog. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't have too much of an opinion on it, but I certainly try my best when it's me to be like, say I'm having a match against Daz Black and it's in 3 weeks' time. I'm not going to be like, I'm fighting Daz Black on the 23rd of April, and then the next day I'm like, here's me and Daz Black at the pub. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't do. I think it's okay to show that you're a human being, but I like. Don't be like, I've got you in a match and I'm sitting there having a podcast with you, and in 2 days' time we're gonna wrestle. Do you know what I mean? I think, but also, I've been stuttering and all that, but I think basically we're kind of past the stage where it is a bit too late, in my opinion, to go back. If you want to do it like you're just wrestler, then brilliant. Zero is brilliant at just being in character whenever he's on. When he's in character, he's in character. But I think we're kind of past the stage of.
Yeah, man, I would totally agree. I think it's too far gone to like go back to. Okay, we're going to have like wrestlers have like personas online, but I still think it could have been used a little bit better. Like I think like you're saying, the way you use it to share your kind of stuff, I think works. But then like there's some people that just use it when it's like just personal. People find them on it, and I'm like, just you can still play the role like Randy Orton walking his dog and stuff like that. But then on like the Monday before, it's like Tuesday's out there having like food with his family and stuff. But then on the Monday, he's like choking up black stuff and stuff like that, which is insane to think. Like he would like do that the next day, and you're just like, could you just stay in character for like a week? Like it would have been better. But
I'm
it would have been better for
really
me.
Horrible person right now. I can hear myself getting shouted from downstairs, and it's really throwing me off. So I'm gonna go tell them for 2 seconds to just stop shouting me. Sorry, 2 minutes.